I'm with Connor Tomlinson. He is a social and political commentator. Welcome into the studio, Connor.
Good evening, Kevin.
Now, we are going to discuss a speech made by someone called Carol Adams. She wrote an important book. I urge you all not to bother reading it. It's called The Sexual Politics of Meat. And in a recent debate at the Oxford Union, she regaled the attenders of that great event with a speech that defies belief. It is, without doubt, the most egregious example of woeful wokery I've ever heard in my life. And here is a section of it.
The assumption that the best protein comes from corpses is a racist belief. How do you know the animal would have picked you to feed off their corpse? 21st century animal eating requires our complicity in a new colonialism. These events especially affect girls and young women. Your hamburger comes with a dose of misogyny. Popular culture is flooded with references to sexy cows, sexy pigs, sexy chickens, sexy fishes, who all just want to have fun.
That was just an excerpt from a speech that defied belief, and they were howling with laughter as she made it, and I'm not surprised. But she's actually deadly serious. Who goes on about sexy fishes, sexy chickens and sexy pigs? I've never heard that, have you?
Neither have I. I don't know what particular Marks and Spencer's she's shopping at. Do you know what the disturbing thing is as well? Everyone listening, your tax money's going on the students who pay their fees so she can have a job.
Well, they're allowed to attend comedy events, but she was deadly serious. I mean, I don't know how old she is. She looks like she's about 60 or something. How do you get to be that old and be that stupid?
I think she's probably smoking as many vegetables as she is eating.
No, we don't. No.
That's just my speculation, of course. So I actually have a friend who works with the Oxford Union and escorts all the guests, etc. And she spoke to the vegan side of the debate. She's actually a vegan herself.
Well, obviously, one would hope so with those kind of thoughts.
Well, no.
She said that your hamburger comes with a healthy dose of misogyny.
Well, that just makes me want to eat hamburgers. My friend, she's also a vegan, and she spoke to one of the people who was arguing on the same position as Carol Adams. She was the founder of Beyond Meat. You know, you keep seeing these Beyond Chicken Nuggets at KFC or Beyond Burgers at McDonald's. She showed up and said about it, and she said, well, it kind of embarrassed our side of the argument, because guess which side of the position won? She closed out the vegan side of the debate, and the meat-eating side won at Oxford Union. So I suppose there is hope for some sense in our universities after all.
Well, you'd have to go some to lose a debate against that woman. I mean, as I say, she found a problem with absolutely everything, and if you eat a piece of meat, somehow or other you're a misogynist, you're a male chauvinist pig, you oppress women, you are obsessed with sexy chickens. I mean, what on earth was she talking about?
It was a tick box for every woke issue under the sun. I know we always say about the oppression Olympics. Well, she's clearly pole vaulted to the summit of the pyramid. But that's the funny thing about this, everyone in the audience laughed. I think there was only one walkout by talkRADIO's former Calvin Robinson, who juts across the camera.
Did he walk out?
He did walk out, yes. In about 2 minutes into the video, you can see him just walk across the screen. But everyone else sat there and laughed as soon as she
said howling with laughter.
Yes, as soon as she said about milk
I can hear you laughing, bud.
Yes, and she actually said, with a straight face to my friend who walked into her car, that Oxford Union is clearly a patriarchal institution because nobody was ready for the ideas yet. So it wasn't that she lost the debate, that everyone's laughed her out of every academic institution, and even her own side were laughing at her. She didn't stop and think, maybe I've gone too far. No, it's everyone else who's wrong.
Yeah, she thinks that she's almost sympathetic to the backward thinkers that she's addressing, because she's so far ahead of them with her vanguard radical viewpoints. But it's just gobbledygook. It's not even English.
She's so open-minded, her brain's fallen out. And can I just point out about the serious irony of an American coming over and telling us we're all being colonised against animals? I mean, first of all, someone needs to explain to Dr. Dolittle here that not every animal it has the same sort of concern for animal welfare as we humans do. The fox doesn't care about the bird it eats, and so we are just part of that food chain. Now, we shouldn't be cruel to animals. We shouldn't be like the West Ham player who booted that cat up the backside despite being on the board of an animal charity. That's rank hypocrisy and unnecessary cruelty. But, and this is where you and I may differ a little bit, animals are okay for us to eat, and it is nutritionally necessary. If you see a lot of people, she said about the soy boys in her talk, a lot of the men who subsist on without meat, some of them are very skinny fat, some of them aren't doing so well for themselves a lot of the time. It's very rare you get kind of elite level athletes that can only eat grain. So what she's saying doesn't make nutritional sense, and it doesn't make sense to the own audience who might be sympathetic to her social justice attitudes.
I mean, yeah, my wife's a vegan, so, you know, I take a kind of pretty even-handed view about what you want to eat. That's up to you. It's just this kind of gobbledygook that annoys me. And a lot of vegans will say you can get your protein from elsewhere, so it can be a perfectly healthy diet. Don't forget Djokovic, he eats a vegan diet, although I suppose he doesn't play tennis anymore, does he? Jeff Norcott, by the way, somebody put this speech on Twitter, and he's talking about the sexy fish, sexy pigs, sexy cows. Jeff Norcott's response was, she's right about the cows, though. Sexy as hell.
I'm never going to look at the pint of milk the same way again.
He didn't actually say sexy as hell. He used a rather stronger
Oh, okay. I thought that was just purely your editorialising.
I was editorialising.
Yes.
It's a family show.
Of course. That's why you have me on. I would love to know, well, I wouldn't love to know, where she keeps seeing all these sexy images of animals in popular media. I don't particularly think Captain Birdseye is going to get anyone's rocks going, personally, but there you go.
There is a restaurant in London called Sexy Fish.
I haven't been.
It's quite well. You wouldn't be able to afford it, mate. I can't afford it. It's quite a good restaurant, but it is very, very expensive. But yeah, just unbelievable. Just before you go, Connor, you found another egregious example of wokery, didn't you? There's the new Lord of the Rings TV series on Amazon. How have they wokeified that?
So Jeff Bezos and crew have spent about $1 billion making a Lord of the Rings series, and they've just released their new promo images in Vanity Fair, and they've made multiracial hobbits, dwarves and elves. Now, if this were any other IP in a fantasy land, that's totally fine. However, Tolkien based this off of English mythology, and I don't think you're going to get many of the underground dwelling dwarves, for example, with diverse melanin colours because they don't see a lot of sunlight. And I also don't think you're going to get very many elves with very stylish haircuts because they're elves in basically a medieval setting. So the Lord of the Rings over here has been ruined based on personal politics. They've now got one of the elven queens dressed like Joan of Arc, whereas it just doesn't join up with the original novels at all.
It's just crazy, isn't it? I mean,
it's going to hemorrhage money.
The whole world is going mad. It really is. Wokery. It's sweeping across the globe. What are we going to do about it, Connor?
Continue to fight back. And again, the best thing we can do is do what the students did at Oxford. Laugh it into oblivion.
Yeah, you see, the thing is, you're right. You know, we do, all of us. You know, whenever you hear, you know, there's a trigger warning on Brer Rabbit or something like that.
Tiger who came to tea
at some red brick university. The tiger who came to tea. You know, wasn't there a trigger warning recently on the Harry Potter books?
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, so it's always funny. But and you know, we must keep laughing, but it is still pernicious because the advance carries on. It just keeps rising and rising and rising. The more we laugh, the more they come back. So the anti-wokes like you and me, I don't think we're winning the battle. That's what worries me.
I disagree. I think this is why we need institutions like talkRADIO to continually push back, to make media that is countercultural. Unfortunately, common sense is the counterculture nowadays. When you have political institutions and all of our businesses signing up to the same kind of equity, diversity and inclusion doctrine, which spells out die, by the way, which is what it's going to do to the businesses, we need a bit of a pushback. And that's hopefully what we're going to be providing. And I suppose the station's figures speak for themselves and that people want to listen.
Yeah, I mean, talkRADIO going through the roof with listeners, and everybody else, remember the old adage, go woke and you go broke. Connor Tomlinson, social and political commentator, thanks very much for coming in.